You're tuned in to RX Radio.
What's odd to me is the pouch as a method of delivery for things. Pouch is the new gummies. You heard it here first.
Wow. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, if they could just pouch up some multis, maybe some omega 3s in here, make it, a health product.
Yeah, I prefer to suck on all my micronutrients all day rather than just take them in a pill. No, I'll trade in the fish burps for just a stench of fish oil the entire day. That's really where I'm at in my life. I'm really trying to off-put as many people as possible. Well, the gummy thing was interesting because that got legal, right?
Oh, you're talking about weed.
No, I'm talking about creatine.
Oh,
Did you
what?
not? Were you not following this story?
You say legal or lethal?
Legal. Oh yeah, no. Like, could you imagine people just drop dead? No, I think it turned legal. Like creatine gummies were
Wait,
like
what?
coming to like some sort of lawsuit.
Really? That's wild. I mean, what the Bang energy drinks? There was a lawsuit over those because they said they had creatine and apparently they just had meth or caffeine
So,
or something.
so I think the issue with that is creatine in solution
Mm.
actually breaks down into creatinine. And so you actually don't have creatine if it's in water for too long. So I think in
God.
solution, and they came up with some super creatine. I could be totally making it up, but I know they called it super creatine.
They
And I
did
think
for
we
sure.
actually made fun of it on the show.
Probably, yeah. We've made fun of just about everything in fitness pop culture on
Anyone
this
can
show.
pop it. And you know what I think? And I think what I like about us is we're fair. Anyone can catch it. We don't
Yeah.
discriminate.
I'd even say everyone can get it.
Everyone can get it. You don't believe us? Fucking try us. A
Yeah.
supplement. So here we got a supplement company called Push is suing its former manufacturer after testing revealed their creatine gummies contained nearly undetectable amounts of creatine, not
You're
the
just eating
advertised
bad
5 grams
candy.
per serve. Yeah, this is Flintstone vitamins. That's all. Actually, Flintstone vitamins would probably be healthier. You're just gelatin and fucking food dye.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. Found to contain only 0.102 grams of creatine, as opposed to 5. Push publicly
Man.
apologizing for underdosing. It's like, but you're just that's just breaking the law. Like, it's just so crazy to me.
You know that costs like 5 times more than just a can of creatine monohydrate too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the how cheap that company is. Like mono is the cheapest thing. It is probably the cheapest bulk supplement with the greatest amount of impact that you can have. Like, research
Yeah.
has kind of ebbed and flowed, but research has kept on keeping on in a positive outlook with creatine, and it's always positive. Right now, you can argue about the efficacy of creatine versus trained and untrained individuals, and there's always like the boogeyman under the bed of like water retention and things like that. But I don't think there has been a health supplement that has as much reproducible positive benefits with minimal drawbacks and not really a concern of dosing too high, right? Like, it's unique in that sense where there was issues for a long time, and before the research caught up with like vitamin D, increasing the absorption of calcium, but without K1 and 2, sort of changing the way that calcium could potentially get uptook into the bloodstream and increasing the calcific changes within blood vessels, veins, and arteries. But creatine just continually hits it out of the park. The only drawback to creatine is it has to be in the product for it to work. That's like the only thing. It just has to be there. And if you do that, you're pretty well sweet. It's like that's just when ignorance meets malice,
Mm.
right? That's like Montgomery Burns is just sitting there at the creatine factory going, you know what would be really fun? If we just didn't put any in. How fun would that be?
Really cutting costs around here.
Dude, the whole fucking world's losing their mind, dog. Nuts.
It is. And it just makes me more tired.
Mm,
I'm just tired.
yeah. This is why I like reading history. It's because you realize the world's always been nuts. It's just you're just tired. That's 100% what history is like. Oh, this is just what 36 years of dealing with this planet feels like, and this is just today's flavor of, you know, whatever's going on in the 14th century, medieval times, Roman Empire. It's like, oh, it's just all insane.
Yeah. We're
Right.
just
But anyway,
not able to kill each other in the streets anymore. And that makes it hard. That makes it
it's
tiring. Makes it
you got to
tiring.
go back to Pennsylvania, dog. It's calling you. That's what
It
Pennsylvania's
is.
talking through. That came from
It's
here.
it's in my blood.
It's in your blood. Yeah. Zin is actually just a trigger for the purge. Everyone with a pouch one day is just going to walk out with an AR, give it to their neighbor who's shoveling his driveway. True story.
Yeah, no, that happens.
Oh, man. All right. Well, in the interest or on the topic of the world going insane, good and bad exercises. I think it's a
Oh
topic of
yeah.
conversation that, you know, it's again, social media, I still think is, and I'm curious to get your take on this. I think social media is such an unbelievable net positive.
Yeah,
Agree, disagree?
it is. And with positives, there's always going to be negatives. And I can't deny the fact that there's more good that has come from it than negative.
Yeah. I mean, I think social media is a bit of a mirror. Like, if social media is negative, it's because like, it's a tool, right? Like, in the same way, if you'll indulge me in this analogy, in the same way a gun is a tool. And if you
Sure is.
decide to shoot yourself in the foot with it, that's on you, right? So
Ooh.
like the interesting thing with social media is obviously like Instagram and short form content. It puts the ball back in your court to contextualize things, right? Like one of the things that I think kind of sampling from our little opening preamble about the world going insane and realizing it's always been insane is like if you ever see an image that goes around of like, you know, whether it's people at the gym or just like people on the bus and everyone's just staring at their phone, it's like, yeah, dude, do you know what the 40s and 50s were like? Everyone was just staring at a fucking newspaper. That's all it is, right? This is just a newspaper that talks back to you. Like it's not a new thing. It's a new brand of an old phenomenon, right? And I think when it comes to social media, it's like the information landscape and, you know, as it pertains to sort of our conversation around, if I had 90 seconds, context is hard. That's why you and I have done 650 podcasts on fitness so that we can have a little bit more in-depth conversation. So because creating the other in the way that you provide value is not useful. It's a waste of time, right? It's like, oh, so I don't even want to bang on about, you know, some people say this and we're going to say this. It's like, I think a principles-based conversation that allows you to build a filter around quickly contextualizing things that you see, I think is a useful takeaway. I think that's a useful 45 minutes to an hour of our time and to discuss like, okay, yeah, you go through short form content and there's this green X red check bullshit of no context. How do you then apply context to establish whether or not an exercise is good or bad? Or probably a better way to word it is what makes an exercise good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And that's, I don't know. I get asked that question all the fucking time. Like, oh, is this a good exercise? Or like someone will come up to me with their split and be like, is that good? Or like, are these bad for your back? Whatever it is bad. That's got to be bad for you. That can't be good. And I think people, the way that the brain works, they just, if it's good, it's useful. If it's bad, it's not. Right. It's like, this is something I will do. This is something I won't do. And they just don't dig any deeper or they don't put in any thought into it past that. That's why I hate the question, is this good or bad? Because it takes so much context to understand when this might be applicable, when it might not be. And that's like, is a back squat good or bad? I don't know. Like, why are you using it? How are you using it? Who's using it? Like, how often are you doing it? How heavy are you doing it? There's so many questions. There's so many things you need to know. So as I think of exercise, it's not necessarily good or bad. I just look at what is the tool? What is the job? Is it the right tool for the job that we're trying to accomplish right now? And is it the best tool for the job too? Right? I don't know, I can probably cut a steak with a fork and a USB-C charger if I needed to. I'd make it fucking happen because I'm going to eat
Yeah.
steak.
You get
But
nice steaks too. I
yeah,
know
right?
you're
Yeah.
bougie in some places.
Hey, I like that. But if you give me a kitchen knife, a nice steak knife, like that's going to work a lot better, right? So it's not necessarily like the USB charger still has a purpose. It's a good tool for charging phones. It's not a good tool for cutting steaks, right?
Right.
So I'd look at exercise the same exact way. It's not necessarily good or bad. It's, is this useful for the task that we're trying to accomplish? And then even further than that, is it the most useful thing, right? Because it might be a good tool, but this might be the wrong job for it. And I think that's where people get lost in this, is they look at, you know, certain maybe exercises they see or ideas around fitness or things that are going around on the internet, and it doesn't give enough context for them to understand where that fits in, the magnitude at which that's important compared to other things. And like 650 episodes, like we've probably said the same things 650 times. It's like there's not so many things to talk about in the fitness industry that we're just coming up with new shit, but people are just getting dumber. I don't know if people are getting dumber, but there's always just this recirculation of like, oh, this is new, and like the shiny ball syndrome, like this has to be the thing that's the answer to all of the problems. But if it wasn't before, it probably isn't now. Like, it's, none of these things are new. We just need to have some sort of assessment or framework for assessing movements or ideas around exercise that allows us to understand where it fits in, how it fits in, and how important it is in the grand scheme of things. And that's the thing that I think people are missing, that ask if it's a good or a bad exercise.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if I'm putting this in chronological order, it's, I think timing is really everything, right? And not necessarily timing of application of a particular tool to achieve a particular goal, but the actual timing of the goal itself. And I think that's where, for me, this appraisal process starts. Of like, if someone comes to me and they're 40 and 50 pounds overweight, and they go, I don't know, maybe they say their knee hurts. Let's go with that, and then we can run a few scenarios of this. Their knee hurts. What do you think? What do you think I should do? And it's like, lose 15 to 20 pounds,
Yeah.
right? Like, because I can look at this and be like, well, patellofemoral pain syndrome, interesting. I wonder if he has chondromalacia or any, comorbidities at the hip, or he has some sort of systemic inflammatory disorder, or what were your mom's knees like, or do you have feel pain above the knee? Oh, it's quad. Or if you feel pain below the knee, oh, it's patellar. Where meanwhile, it's like, hey, fatso, put the fucking fork down. Right? So, because we can look at these interventions, right? And there may be a time where looking at foot mobility and looking at even just general strength, or more specific into tibial rotation, all these things. But it's like, you try and fix the tibial rotation of a fat guy who's not strong. It's like you're stepping over, to borrow one of my favorite quotes, I guess, of all time now, the Stan Efferdingism of stepping over $100 bills to pick up quarters. So, could someone be lacking tibial internal rotation? Yeah, if you're fucking 40, 50 pounds overweight, absolutely. The way your nervous system is going to compensate and efficiently propel you through the world, given the set of tools you've given it to do so, you're not going to have tibial internal rotation. And I could sit there and turn your tibia until we're all blue in the face. And the second your fat ass gets off the table, it's fucking right back to the old habits, right? Right back to the old reflexes. So I think one of the things is identifying, like, okay, we all understand we have a finite amount of time, and the changes that we want to make are going to take time. And I think the cash value that's sold on a lot of these movements is maybe not necessarily the immediacy, but how expedient can this intervention solve this problem. But it's like, we have Vanessa Zucala.
Veronica.
14, dude, I've called her that. Jay Marsh, we're gonna fucking. I'm literally messing Jay Marsh now. I may have called her Vanessa. I can't do that. I'm literally messing Jay Marsh. What time? 14 minutes.
14 something, 1450.
14. James, Jesus, can't have that. God, I'm losing my fucking mind. So we had Veronica Zuccalla on the show, Prescript coach, and she brought up like bed mass, like order of operations from mathematics. And it's like, I look at this problem and the way of solving this problem, this perennial problem from a principles perspective. That's like an alliteration. There's a lot of P's in there. And I look at it in that way of like, with math, it was brackets, exponents, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. It's like, okay, first thing you have to ask yourself, is this a problem that's worth solving right now? And like, I think that there's a metaphysical principle there that most people could probably ask themselves that question every single minute of every single day with everything that they think is a problem. Is this a problem right now? No. Okay, well, I'm sure you have a problem right now that probably needs to be solved, right? Like one of my favorite quotes is, if you take care of the little things, the big things take care of themselves. And I think this is large in part true to our conversation today, is like, whether it's you want your lats to get bigger or you want your knees to stop hurting, is that the thing in the immediate term that should be the goal, right? So I think that when I'm looking at this from a framework perspective and I'm doom scrolling and I come across an exercise or a stretch or something that claims to have some sort of desirable adaptation, I think to myself, like, okay, what is the opportunity cost that comes with this? And should I be succumbing to that opportunity cost in lieu of really pushing towards another goal that may be more meaningful, or maybe a goal that's on the way to that goal? So I think that's the first thing, is like, okay, yes, this is the problem. Someone may be fat and have small lats, but it's like, okay, hold on. Like, we got to organize these, right? Priority should be a singular word. It's like, we'll worry about the lats later. Let's worry about the fat first. So I think that's something that when I find myself walking through this critical thinking process, that's always my first question. It's like, is this problem a today problem?
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And I think people that look at these things and they look at the problem that's maybe 5 problems down the road from now, they see like, oh, there's this very general information that doesn't have context, and this is going to fix my lats because I need bigger lats, when really all they need to do is get on a treadmill and maybe eat some salads, right? I think that's a big part of this whole conversation, is just allowing people to understand what the biggest opportunity is for them right now. And fuck, it's been a long day.
Yeah, biggest opportunity for them right now.
Right
Maybe
now,
not fat
is taking a
lats.
nap. Yeah, no. I think as we start to have those conversations with people, like the biggest thing that I'll see is people will take something that is kind of niche, it's out of left field, it's different, and it's overly complex, and they'll try to apply it to a situation that doesn't require a complex solution, right? And the way that I look at those sort of things is that complexity is a progression, and it should be in exercising, right? If you're having knee pain, then we kind of need to strip it down to the studs, and we need to make sure that you understand how to use a hip and a knee and a foot and your core. And then we need to add in complexity as we integrate those things into one working system, right? The answer is probably not some like overly cued, highly constrained, super specific lunge variation that they're not doing. And that's not the answer to the problem. Their answer to the problem is probably removing the complexity and kind of pulling back the layers and understanding, like you said, how to do the basic things really well, right? We take care of the little things, the big things take care of themselves. And that's where a lot of this gets confused. I think people really start to jump ahead and they think that oh, this is a complex problem. I've tried everything to do it. And then you start to dig into it, and maybe they've tried a bunch of things that were, like I said, 5 problems down the line, but they're not applicable to the problem that they're having right now. So the thing that they really need to do is strip back that complexity and really look at the basics and start to do those really well.
And this is, so I remember reading Super Training by Sif and Verkhoshansky, and there's a quote in there that I've probably parroted a handful of times on the podcast. And the more I think about it, the more I don't know if I agree with it. And the quote is something to the effect of, if your body was a bank, you'd never do business there. And so this idea of like investing, having more money to invest, but having lower returns. And like in some ways, I think that's true, right? Like in some ways, I think how easy it was for me, and even like, all age aside and all that, like how easy it was for me in when I was younger to get leaner faster, right? Or when I was honestly, how easy it was for me when I was heavier to lose weight, right? Or when I first started training, probably the best example and most sort of ubiquitous is how easy it was for me to put on muscle when I just started, right? And that's sort of like a known phenomenon sort of the world over. And so this idea is like, yeah, it's harder for me to put on muscle now. But I think in the grand scheme of things, one of the things that understanding this sort of thought process that you're laying out here is the initial things, the basics, as it were. These things are future investments, right? These things are really bolstering, like, because I think the reason people jump to complexity is because complexity and effort are actually inversely correlated. The more complex something is, usually like the less taxing or disciplined it has to be, right? Like, so the solutions get like a little bit closer to complexity the more you've gone through this slogging fucking 200-meter shit crawl out of Shawshank to get yourself in pretty good shape. And it's just like, I think part of that comes down to one, managing your own expectations if you're taking this endeavor on yourself of like, look, I think most people, no, not most, I think everyone should get like pretty lean at one point in their life, right? And I think a habit that, and I tend to not get as lean year over year. I tend to not get as fat as year over year, or at least I try not to. But that's a basic thing that takes a lot of effort. But like when you do that, you actually start to appreciate the investment of that work, both like metaphysically and physically. Like, you appreciate the effort it takes to actually get in really good shape. But you'll notice that losing a ton of weight and stripping body fat actually solves the knee and the lat problem. Like, oh, my hormones are like in a little better place for me to put on muscle. If I like reverse diet out of this and sort of slowly incrementally put on calories and adjust my training volume, I can start to have like this predictable gain in muscle mass, and my knee doesn't hurt anymore because I'm not 40 pounds too heavy. And if you do that, that's like a rung on a ladder that you've climbed that you'll never climb back down again, right? Like you're always. I remember being in high school, and I had this gym teacher. His last name was Kavanaugh, Justin Kavanaugh. And I remember him like kind of looking around the classroom and it's like, look, you want to appreciate strength now as a baseline because it'll get harder to do as you get older. And he literally pointed at me and goes, there will never be a time in Shallow's life where he won't be able to bench 135. And it's like, because I'd been building that, all I focused on was building that strength. And even with, I can bench 135 with one hand if I had to. And there has been a point in my life where I have had to because I tore my right pec. And it's like laying the foundation of your health and fitness starts with these big effort, these slow to move rocks. But it's like, I think the promise that maybe gets missed is that the expedient complexity comes as a byproduct of that, right? Like now, if I want to change my body composition, I just like delete Uber Eats off my phone for like a week and a half, maybe do like, I'll get my steps up to 10,000, up my protein a little bit. And it's like, oh yeah, like, all right, like, yeah, we're kind of chilling. But it's that because of like dieted down to 240, got pretty lean for me, been able to hit the sort of reset button. And now it's like, okay, I've done that a handful of times. I still train. I do all that stuff that's, difficult, maybe tedious. But now when I want to go to the shelf and pull off like, oh, this kind of hurts my shoulder, my knee, my this, I know it's not because I'm, too fat. And it's like, oh, okay, yes, I have this base level of preparedness because I've invested that. So that's where I don't know if that analogy really holds because like my principle, my initial investment has accrued to something that is stable and continuously returns. And it returns because if I take this thing and I have this large principle, this large amount of, physical equity, and I take this equity and I put it into something like at a penny stock that jumps a couple of percentage, it's like, my returns are still massive, right? Like my returns of this thing are, sure, my relative interest rates, may be less, but my absolute return is more, right? Like if I'm investing on a 30% return with $100, it's like, okay, cool, man. But if I'm investing hundreds of millions of dollars on a 3% return, which one of those leaves you with more money in your pocket? So I think part of, and I don't want to necessarily say a promise, but I think understanding the road ahead and being like, hey, look, once you do this, you'll never have to undo it. Right? We're going to strip your squat down to the front squat with an empty bar, and we're going to rebuild it. And I've done this before. I remember doing it when I was like 18 years old. I was squatting 500 pounds when I was 18. And I was just like, but it was kind of ugly. It was a 5. And then I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Strip it all the way down. I remember stripping it down to 95 pounds. And one of the best things I think I've ever done for my lifting career was do that. Like, I get to under 90, it would be ugly, but I could squat 500 when I was 18. By the time I was 21, 22, I was squatting, I don't know, 550, 600 pounds. I remember doing a drop set after college, going 585, 495, 405, 315, 225, and then laddering back. And it's like, it's all because I took that time. And now, like, I will always have access to that. And I think that's something that's not communicated is like, when you do this, when you lay this foundation, you do these simple things that require a lot of effort, that will accrue. And that cumulative physical wealth, whether it's metabolic, whether it's neurologic, whether it's body composition, whether it's motor learning, however you want to cut it, that stays with you, right? Like that stays with you forever, in my opinion, as long as you keep stoking the fire, and how little it takes to stoke. And then as you're stoking these little fires, oh, now I want to make a big investment or I want a big return. Great. The complex thing is there for you to the lat variation of, oh, I can actually see a difference now. And I'm sure you're at a point where it's like, say you're looking to program leg strength in a training cycle. Hold on, give me 2.5 weeks. And next thing you know, you get 220 on your back for reps and the kilos. But all of that comes from that initial investment. And I don't think that's ever communicated. Like, hey, look, the grass is greener over there. We just got to put in the effort here first. All right, guys, quick break from today's episode to talk about Prescript Level 1. Prescript Level 1 is a certification for coaches and clinicians who are looking to improve their skill set around applied biomechanics and functional anatomy. Essentially, how can you provide more value in your practice by solving more complex problems faster? That's what we're all about in the PSL1 course, understanding everything from arthrokinematics to biomechanics to muscle mechanics to exercise programming. Being able to solve movement problems quick is the name of the game. Now, Prescript Level 1 is now currently live for sale. If you want to head to www.pre-script.com/PSL1, you can register for next semester's classes today. Course is 16 weeks in length, comes with the PSL1 textbook, 4 lectures a week, plus 7 labs and free access to the Prescript Collective. So again, that's www.pre-script.com/PSL1. We'll see you in class. Now back to the show.
I love it. I think that's the best message, is that putting a lot of effort into very simple things is the thing that most people need to do, right? It's not fun. It's not sexy. It's not Instagrammable, but anyone out there that's having pain right now, I guarantee if they put as much effort into going to sleep an hour sooner than they did into trying to solve that pain, they would feel better a week from now. Right? It's just a very simple, non-sexy things that if you can treat those like the solution, they kind of are, right? There's the big rocks that it's not going to change, like sleep, diet. What are you eating? How much are you moving throughout the day? How are you moving specifically? And as these questions get more specific, it becomes less important, right? Because I'll walk into the gym now, and there's been times where I've planned out every single session, every single rep that I'm going to do, the load, the drop sets, the accessory. And I've done this for weeks and months and years on end. I'll walk into the gym now and I'll kind of move around a little bit. I'll see what feels like shit. I'm like, all right, my shoulder feels like trash. I was going to do upper body. Let's do these 3 basic things. Let's make my shoulder feel better. And then we'll go have a session. And It is, like you said, like you get that return a lot faster once you've invested on the front end. And now, like, I know that if I'm traveling a lot, the thing that's going to have the biggest impact on my workouts is not what I'm doing in the workout, it's how I'm sleeping. Am I hydrating? What does my diet look like around those flights? Like, what does my schedule look like that day? Like, am I going to have just a back-to-back day by the time 5:30 rolls around? Am I going to be just smashed trying to work out, or should I just wake up 2 hours earlier, get it out of the way, and then get on with my day? Like, it's the actual details of the workout become so much less important the more you focus on those big rocks throughout your day, throughout your life, and the longer that you accumulate putting a lot of effort into those mundane, very basic things. Like, I did not track my food today whatsoever on MyFitnessPal or Chronometer, whatever people use now. But I can go back and I can remember everything I ate, and I can tell you probably pretty close to the exact macro breakdown of what I've ingested today. And that's just reps. That's just reps of doing the basic things over a long period of time. And I haven't done that yet today. But after this podcast, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to go through that mental inventory. I'm probably going to slam 3 Fairlifes and then go make myself a ribeye because it's not much. but that, like you're saying, the return is so much better because, like, I don't need to consciously be focusing on all these things. I've done it so many times. I put so much effort into these things that I know, like, all right, my schedule, I have to be up at 5:30 tomorrow. So by the time 8:30 rolls out around, I'm getting ready for bed tonight. So it's like, these things are almost subconsciously happening. And these are very basic things that now I don't have to worry about because I've put that effort in for so long. And I can focus on the things that are slightly more complex now because I've earned the right to do that. And I think a lot of people that are too concerned on finding like the easy fix or like the new like niche thing that no one's tried or no one's doing, but it's the secret to all their problems. Like, it doesn't really work that way. Like, it's just get the creatine in the gummies. Like, you need to have the creatine in the gummies for the creatine to work. Like, these people are just munching gummies, but there's no creatine in them.
I mean, I think there's something to be said about, like, you know, the physiological and the psychological. Like, you laid out the example of not having to put it in MyFitnessPal, but, you know, you remember it all day. I can sit down, crunch a few numbers, and be like, all right, here's what I need to close off the day. And I would like bring that into the physical, or bring that into the physiological. It's like, okay, there's a habit that it takes a long time to form. Like, I struggle with MyFitnessPal. I tend to eat the same stuff every day because the idea of like flexibility in my dieting really throws me for a loop. Like, I don't know, it's just a habitual thing that I'm like, okay, I need to find a way around this. Oh, I'll do it once. I just eat this food and this food equals this. And I hit my protein, blah, blah, blah. But then there's a physiological adaptation that happens on the back of that psychological habitual adaptation. It's like, if you want to go, and this is where the compounding interest thing, or the interest equation, I think, or the comparison actually holds a lot of water, is like, you have such a safety net to go away for a week and lose nothing, right? Like, if you don't track for a week and you don't recall anything and you just eat whatever the fuck you want, within a day or two, it's almost like, if I'm trying to be true to that investment analogy, it's almost like your compounding intervals become closer together, where it's like, when you first start, your interest compounds annually, maybe even biannually, as not in twice a year, every 2 years. But as you accrue and you accrue and you accrue, sure, you may get less percentage on a return, but you're getting a percentage on a much larger principal, which your absolute results are improved. And I think this is where the analogy, I think, maybe holds water, which means you might actually want to invest in the back end of your body, which I tend to, you know, who the fuck am I to disagree with Sif and Verkhoshansky? And I think they're talking more obviously from a performance standpoint. And like, we're talking about elite athletes in the world trying to get that extra 1%. So I don't know if the analogy really scales down to general population, but what I see, to stick with the analogy, is like those compounding intervals get down. Like, your compounding intervals are down to like a week or a day, right? Mm-hmm. So the efforts you put in of like, you know what, you're going to go, you say you go to Hawaii for a week. You deserve it, dog. Kick your feet up, go to Kauai, hang out, and just eat whatever the fuck. You're eating fucking shaved ice and Spam for a fucking week, right? You're 7 grams of protein, 140 grams of sugar a day. But if you're compounding interest, your intervals are daily, and you get back on a Sunday night, every single right decision you make, and with your principle of all of the hard work that you've put into this endeavor, is like by the time the Friday comes, that is compounded in such a meaningful way that you're kind of right back where you started. Whereas like if you trained for a week and you kind of did some niche shit and you took some bullshit supplement and then you fucking go to Hawaii for a week, it's like, okay, you're not investing anything. The compound interval hasn't, like when you go into your savings account and there's like 4 extra cents in there and you're like, fuck you, man, like whatever. But if the compounding interval is much tighter, and I think that's what people are working for. It's like the quicker you start on doing the hard stuff now, you build that principle and you build that discipline. And so I think actually the financial comparison actually holds a lot of water here. In building that discipline, you build not only the psychological system to help push this thing forward, but the physiological adaptations that follow are really what keep you in this sort of like homeostatic thing. So like allostasis and homeostasis are really kind of at the core of this conversation, where homeostasis is, everyone kind of may be familiar with that word, where it's sort of the body's wantingness to keep its sort of internal system equal, balanced, stable, right? Like the one that I always bring up in L1 is like how sensitive the human thermometer is, right? The idea that our core body temperature is probably always somewhere around 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that's true. But how many things could go wrong with just a few degrees of fluctuation? Right as we started this podcast, I got 2 studio lights on. I can tell you with absolute certainty the temperature of this room has gone up more than 3 degrees. If the temperature of my internal system had gone up more than 3 degrees, I'd be like, yo, Jay, like I got it. I'd probably just collapse, right? So, but allostasis is how do you make change in a system that wants to stay static? And it's like, well, that takes effort, that takes time, that takes discipline. But as you get the homeostatic system to change, it's homeostasis is still the driving factor. So when you've made this change, you kind of want to maintain that change, or you establish a new baseline, and getting back to that baseline is so much easier, right? Because it's not this uphill slog. Because I think there are a lot of analogies that people tend to apply to training. And a lot of times it's people who are like really into fitness. And I actually don't think it's fair to the general population, right? Like the mountain analogy is one. It's like, it's not like climbing a mountain. It's not. Like I personally don't, because it's like as you get higher up a mountain, you're more tired and the partial pressure of oxygen is less. And now it's like you're tired and it's harder. It's like, okay, I actually don't think that's true. Because as you climb this mountain of fitness, you become fitter, right? So you're not, not in the analogy, you're not more tired, you're more capable. Right. So, and this idea of the resource is like, no, like that doesn't, like the air doesn't get thin. It doesn't get harder. You get more capable. Right. So it's like, how do you want to take the conversations? And I think this is where I kind of want to steer it back to is like, all of this theoretical stuff around good exercises and bad exercise sort of led us down this trail. But it really just comes down to communication. Like I'm talking primarily to the coach, but I think really selling the promised land of being fit outside of, all of the things that people may, you get to play with your grandkids and all that. But it's like, hey, look, let's do this now so that when you're 70, you train a couple of days a week. We make sure that you hit your cardio, we prioritize the systems that are going to fall off quick, but you don't have to hit the gym. Cause I think people just see this long road uphill and it's like, well, I go from training 2 days a week to 3 days a week, to 5 days a week, to 7 days a week, to 12 days a week. It's like, no, you don't have to do that. And it's true in almost every high-end athletic endeavor is the volume, the intensity, all that. When you get to like from intermediate or novice, to intermediate is like, yeah, that's a slog. But watch anyone who goes from good to great. The way they do that is not by just taking volume, intensity, hard work, effort, blah, blah, and just, no. Once you get to like, I am pretty good at this, then it's about making these good decisions of like, oh no, I'm going to take the day off. I'm a little bit busy, but okay. And then it's like, well, if I cut back on my carbs a bit, my overall calories are low, my expenditure is not there, and I don't train, it's probably going to actually be a net benefit. So as I kind of take that day off, I'm not sitting there just fucking like David Gogginsing myself up this like an inevitable hedonic treadmill. It's like, no, like, dude, take that day off. And that day off works because you've climbed to this summit. But once you summit, we don't got to go. There's no peak. The peak is down there. Right. And I think that's where like people get the body wrong. And I think in that it's just common misunderstanding and this like, I don't even know what the right word would be, like this self-loathing pursuit of like punishment. It's like, no, like body's cool, man. Like you'd be able to take a couple months off, get whatever. Oh, you need your ankle surgery. Yeah, like you're chilling. And that's what's on the other side. And I think if you communicate that to people, okay, this is the hard part. Sunday morning, you don't want to show up. You show up. Yeah, cool. Because one day it's Sunday morning and it's like, hey, guess what? Little napski and some pancakes. Know what I'm saying? Like that's the best thing for you. And then, but you have to earn that. And I think people don't understand that there is a return at the end of it because we kind of communicate this no days off, one rep, like, rah. It's like, I lift. I mean, I like to lift, but I love naps and pancakes. And it's maybe only a couple times a year I get naps and pancakes, but I wake up from a good pancake nap. Dog, I'm feeling good, right? Yeah. Like extra good. But so yeah, I just think it's a lot around the communication. I don't think people actually understand how to frame those efforts long term.
Yeah, I agree. And to stick with the investment analogy, like kind of what you're saying is like, these are people that when they make these investments their entire life, you get to a point where you get to just live off the interest, right? You don't got to touch the nest egg. Like you're getting the return on it. And like, what I mean by that is like you establish a certain level of fitness and kind of competency through physical fitness, then like you were saying, like you'll always be able to bench press 185 or 135, right? It doesn't matter when it is. It could wake you up fucking 2 a.m. You can do it. But you get to a certain like, I don't know, VO2 max, you get to a certain leg strength, or like you can maintain your mobility into your later years. Like you don't have to be pushing the ceiling up any further. You just need to make sure that you're not letting that floor dip down. Right. And it becomes a lot easier to maintain these changes than it does. Cause like the original analogy is like, yeah, like you get diminishing returns when you try and push performance further and further over time. Like it's more effort to get less of a return. And yeah, that's not necessarily what you want with your investments. But if we're just talking about like, I'm going to use the word like longevity and like health and like fitness throughout your life. Like if you push it in your early years, like you can, there's probably going to be decline later on, but it's going to be a lot more of a kind of gradual decline than someone they've been up and down their whole life with fitness. Like that's going to be a steep decline. Like if you build that base, then you're just living off the interest into your later years. Like maybe you're not hitting 1 rep maxes, but like you're doing a lot better than other people are dealing with gravity at 60, 70, 80 years old. And I think the thing that allows that to happen is kind of like you were saying, is like you understand what you need. And like, man, I don't even know if this is true or not, but it was like an idea that I heard when I was coaching weightlifting, that like high level sprinters will go into a practice and they'll have like times that are projected that they should hit on a certain day. And if they can run that first sprint and hit that time, they're done for the day. Like they're not going to waste time fatiguing, like keep going. Like, I don't know. I never coached sprinters, but it's the sentiment echoed for me. And that's like how I treated weightlifting when I was doing it. It's like, all right, I have like a projected, range in which I should be lifting in my proximity to competition. So if I can walk in and I can snatch 125 today, I'm not going to do any more. Like I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to recover so I can clean and jerk tomorrow. Like it's this idea that your efforts get more accurate the more advanced you get at this. And that's what happens as you invest for a long period of time, is you build that baseline higher and higher and higher. And now you have a perception like going to Hawaii and eating Spam and shaved ice for a week. Like, all right, I know this is going to deviate me from my goals, but like this is planned downtime, but I can be fucking pinpoint accurate when I come back and I can get those macros in check. I know that like I'm probably going to be dragging a little bit, like my blood pressure's through the roof because it always is. So I'm going to ride it out and I'm going to like gradually get back into things, but I'm going to give the right amount of stimulus in the right amount at the right time at the right intervals so that I can get back on track as quickly as possible. And like those are the things that it just takes reps to learn. Like you have to have a lot of bad reps before you have better reps. And that's all this is like that lifelong investment into learning, into putting high effort into very mundane things, it gives you those reps of like, oh yeah, like when I was eating 450 carbs a day, like my knees were too swollen to really be able to squat well because I was retaining so much fluid. And it's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm probably going to keep the carbs pretty moderate, and I'm going to eat like a responsible human. But it's like any deviation that you have from what is the best option at that time, it gives you information that you can then later take from whatever situation you're in, and you'd be like, oh yeah, I remember this one time I did this and like it didn't work out the way I wanted to. So we're not going to do that. We're going to do the thing that is a better decision for right now. And that's all it is, just accumulating reps so you can make more accurate decisions throughout your lifespan.
Yeah, I think there's a relationship between accuracy or precision and complexity, because complexity requires precision. Right. And I think that's where the initial conversation, where we kind of ended up in a little bit of a different place than I think we both thought, is the good and the bad, what establishes good. What establishes good, I think, is something that is a good challenge for your precision and the requisite complexity at the time. Right. Because like the more complex the system, the further down the road, but we'll have accrued a lot of precision, right? Like whether it's nutrition, of, tracking macros by kind of your eye versus, learning how to do it with an app. It's like, if you have a more complex nutritional task to overcome, like say you want to do a photo shoot and you're like, okay, it's a bit more complex, but I've gone lean before. I've gone through iterations of this where I aim my precision at a different level of complexity, not as high, and I've been successful, and I've learned how to bridge those gaps between, okay, what precision am I capable to execute at here versus what is the complexity of the task, or what is the complexity required of the task we're trying to achieve. And I know my deltas, like I know the difference between those two, and how well I can cross from where I'm at, given the precision of the execution that I can operate at and the complexity demanded of me of the task that is the goal. And I think that's really, if you focus on nothing else but those factors, I think that's going to be really like what separates the wheat from the chaff, or the signal from the noise, is like, okay, is the thing I'm trying to achieve too complex for my ability, my current precision that I'm operating at? Right. And I think that's a good benchmark. And then as you get along, you get confident and you get more precise. And this is all the way down to the level of exercise execution, setup, stabilization. Like this is all down to like, hey, when you want to do a snatch, and if you can snatch 125, weightlifting is a sport of zero margin of error. So the precision is really high because the complexity is really high. But if you hit that, then you're good. You can get out. It's like, I think of it almost like throwing darts. It's like when you watch darts on TV, if darts is still on TV. When I was a kid, if I pretended to be sick and stayed home from school, you just watch TSN. And at a certain point in the middle of the day, the only people watching TSN in the middle of the day are you and a bunch of drunk people who aren't at work. And what do drunk people want to watch? Fucking other drunk people playing darts. And when you watch these fucking drunk guys get up there and like, they're kind of like, because they don't even know where they are. But dude, 60, 120, 180. I'm like, dude, I'll be sitting there fucking sober as a judge, throwing 100 singles at this, and like, but they go up and there's precise, but the complexity required to throw triple 20, triple 20, triple 20, and you're out. It's really fucking hard. Mm-hmm. So training is a lot like that, where you're like, your focus is on everything I do. I'm trying to learn the meta skill of precision, of like, when I'm dialing in my nutrition, learning the difference between a tablespoon of peanut butter and a tablespoon of peanut butter. Like that's precision and complexity that some people's brains just can't sort out. But if you can tell yourself honestly, like, no, like this is, this is a tablespoon of peanut butter, not this fucking, it's like that compounded across 4, 5, 6 meals a day across a week, that little dial in of precision, you just end up like that Turkish gunslinger. You know that guy? The Turkish the guy that just shows up and just like grabs the fucking
in the Olympics,
he turns it sideways like this, and everyone else is showing up with their telescopes on and shit, and he's just like, "Yo, in Istanbul, we keep this real, dog." Like, because there's an incremental progress in respecting the relationship between precision and complexity. And because things seem complex relative to your precision, right? Like if you're imprecise, then basic things seem complex.
Mhm.
But if you're more precise, more complex things don't seem as complex. It's all relative to your precision. And I think, it's actually one of the things I really like in the modern bodybuilding era is this focus in the muscle building space on precision of execution, which I think is a relatively novel, a novel concept in the bodybuilding world, where bodybuilding was all about volume and rep to rep inconsistency, blah blah blah. And I think they're one of the last to adopt it because obviously Olympic weightlifting can't play that game. Powerlifting can, not as it doesn't have the same margin for error as, let's say, Olympic weightlifting, because just the velocity component totally changes everything, the timing component. But then bodybuilding is like really pushing this precision. So if I were to teach someone a skill or a focus, it's this focus on focusing. It's this focus on precision. And it's like that will allow you to climb the ladders of complexity and get these expedient returns with a larger, physical bank account much quicker. Because ultimately that I think is the relationship that you're looking to master, right? Like you're looking to master the relationship of how complex is the thing I'm trying to do relative to my precision and my ability to do it. And, you want it to be challenging, but not so challenging that you can't do it. And if you can keep finding those increments and keep, as you get to one, find the next one as fast as possible, then you're going to start to expedite your progress a lot quicker.
Love it. Yeah. And to kind of bring it full circle to like good exercises, bad exercises. You and I did a podcast very recently where we gave a lot of praise to the walking lunge as like the GOAT. That's the one. That's the best exercise ever, right? If you're ready for the level of complexity and you can execute it accurately, right? So that may not be the best exercise for you, but if that's the end goal, if that's the exercise that we're working towards, and we take the intermediate steps to be able to get there and be able to do that level of complexity with a high level of accuracy, then what we're doing is we're taking exercises that resemble or they have similar qualities to the walking lunge, or they build competency and accuracy in the qualities that make up the walking lunge. Then we can take this, and maybe the best exercise for someone, like I've had very few clients where that's the best exercise day one for them to do, right? So maybe it's just a static lunge hold. Maybe it's a front foot elevated anterior loaded lunge. Maybe it's bilaterally supported stationary lunge. Maybe it's some variation of a split squat that they need to work on. And then maybe it's, dynamic step back lunges. Like there's all these different variations or intermediates along the way where they're all great fucking exercises. But which one is the best exercise? Well, that depends on the person, their skill level, how accurately they can execute it, the level of complexity that they can repeatably execute on. And that's what's going to make it a better or worse exercise for them. So as we start to look at these ideas, whether it's, diets, whether it's exercise, whether it's lifestyle things, and we start to classify them as, oh, this is good or this is bad, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think this is useful or this is less useful, more or less useful, right? Or more or less applicable for a person. And for us to look at this and see if it's good or bad for us, it takes understanding the whole context and how well we can execute on the basics really well, how complex this thing is, and what is, you mentioned this earlier, what is the return for time, right? Because if we're trainers and we're working with a client, like I could do 7 different things. Like I can do a seated abduction, a seated adduction. I can do a quad extension. I can do a hamstring curl. I can do a plank. I can do, I don't know, single leg stance drills. And all these they're a fraction of what makes up a walking lunge to some extent. And maybe someone that's very regressed and has a very low skill level, maybe they need that. But most people, you're going to be able to start to combine some of these variables and have a more efficient return on time for, say a stationary externally supported lunge. Like this is going to train a lot of the same qualities as those 6 other movements that I just mentioned, but it's going to do it in more of an expedited way to get them to be more accurate at executing on a higher level skill. So that's kind of the criteria of assessing if something is good or bad. It's not necessarily good or bad, it's just how useful and how efficient is it for that person at that given time.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think that's, a principle-based approach in the way that people can face down these questions. Doesn't answer any individual question, but it gives you a basis to answer all of the questions.
Whoa, very meta.
It's what we do. It's what we do here at RX Radio. We just 54 minutes. We say something we could have said in 10 seconds, and then we say it in 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's it.
So expect more of that. This is you know what? Hey, you're welcome. I'm just saying. But like, I think the way we look at things is, okay, there's an underwriting principle. That's one thing. Sure, that and I think we can communicate amongst professionals and colleagues. But I think the real trick, and the thing that you and I think are always driving at, is how do we as practitioners, as people who are in the service industry, that are in the people industry, we can sit and pontificate and come up with all this stuff, but how do you communicate that to your client?
Yeah,
right. Because I think that's the bridge we try and gap for people. Is like, okay, these are very complex topics. Like, and I feel bad for people who don't appreciate the complexity of working in our field, because I don't know how you would enjoy it. Like, I honestly don't know. What the complexity is, what brings me, like, I wake up early because the job is complex, because we work with like the least understood thing in the known universe, and it's not even close. Like, it's not like the frontiers that are possible every single day on this thing. Cause like, people are like, the whole universe. I'm like, yeah. You know how much, how much access I have to human beings that I can study every single day. It's like, you're going to study fucking Halley's Comet once every 80 years. Okay. What the fuck? How you learn a little bit once, you add it into the field of cosmology, and then you die. It's like, I can every single day learn something, because the most complex thing in the universe is also one of the most testable things in the universe. It's right in front of you every single day. So that's what, that's where I think, like, the takeaways of all the things that we talk about, whether or not if we're useful, or we hit or we're precise in the complexity of the thing that we're talking about, is try and take it away. Cause I know it's all practitioners that listen to the podcast, is how do you take the things that we're saying, if you agree with them, and even if you don't, but how do you communicate the essence of the principles we discuss and actually, put it into practice in a way that's useful with people who don't understand? And that's where I think the real cash value is.
Yeah. Love it, man. Love it.
Another one down.
We did it again.
Did it. RX Radio. One day we'll learn how to actually sign off, but for now, that's just how we're going to fucking do it. So we appreciate you guys hanging out. Yeah. Spotify Wrapped's coming through. RX Radio is fucking on the climb. So we appreciate everyone sharing that stuff on Instagram. Next year, no one's safe. It's the year of complexity, and it's the year of it's coming for the boomers.
Yeah.
Accuracy. We're just going to be picking off those fucking Spotify charts left, right, and center.